Hey guys, welcome back with another video with Linksy. Today we're going to be covering the finals for the Coliseum Land Battle Tournament, and ended up being the Moratori, which I believe are on this side with Kush and Saisley versus Siege Sucks, which have been rubber stomping everyone, who are playing as Arveni and as the Gatii over on this side. So with that said, let's get into it. There are going to be 3 battles. This is the best of 5, and let's get to it. So straight off the bat, Nervii and Gatii are just charging forward straight on. They have quite a bit of Celtic warriors, chosen swords over here, mercenary axe warriors, some noble swords, a lot of spear horsemen, which are really good, to be honest. They're playing on large, not on ultra size, which might make a little bit of a difference. There are some bow horsemen that are already charging up the sides. Bow horsemen are ridiculously good from Gatii, and they do quite a bit of damage. On the other hand, there is some tribal slingers for Saisley, Namibian light infantry supported by desert legionnaires and desert cohort over here, and they do have some armored Namibian riders in the back. For Kushite slave infantry in the front, disciples of Epidemic, and some armored Chotal, and the rear guard of Chotal, side guard of slave spearmen. They're being ridiculously passive, and already we can see that is going to cost some problems, because the advantage is being taken by the Gatii and the Arveni over on this side, and that advantage is going to be really difficult to take over. We can see over here the Gatii has deployed in a manipular formation, ready to move its units as necessary. Spears, okay, they're pulling slightly back, and okay, both sides all of a sudden calm down and stop moving. They're eyeing each other up, seizing each other up for the moment. So yeah, this is a three battles. We can we'll get to the results later, and we'll see. Alright, so the first fight is taking quite a slow start there. The slave slingers are moving to the side. Why slave slingers? That is such an interesting choice. Number of missile cav. Kush is decent on land battles. Saisley is quite good as well. But there's no chariots for Saisley, no chariots for Kush, which is their strongest suit. Especially against a faction like Gatii or Arveni, you do need those chariots, as their infantry is just simply better than whatever you can field. The slave slingers are moving very, very much out of formation. They're going to start shooting. There are some Celtic slingers over here that are ready to counter them, but these guys are completely out of position. Now they're getting shot in the rear as they're moving forward. There is a split down the middle with Arveni and Gatii making the split. Saisley is making the mistake of retreating the wrong side. They should be retreating towards here. Again, in this situation, what you need to do is create a line like that, split their armies, and then just commit enough to hold one in position while you destroy the other. So these slave infantry getting into position, getting ready to shoot, and they're not going to really enjoy it. Pila just flying left, right, and center. Quite a few of these Celtic warriors drop on the ground and are suffering casualties. These armored riders are not going... Yeah, at this point they should have just suicide charged into the lines of the Celtics and killed as many as possible, lightening the load as much as possible, because now spear horsemen are going to come, and spear horsemen will beat these armored Namibian riders every single time. The slave infantry is already getting slaughtered by the Celtic warriors over there. Another engagement over here. The engagement is starting. The Namibian light infantry getting into those horsemen. The first spear unit is breaking, but now our warriors are coming in. The cavalry manages to break the formation of the light infantry, and now the successive charge of the axe warriors is going to do quite a bit of damage over on in that side. Most of these infantry are breaking and are dying quite heavily. Yeah, it's Kush is just breaking completely, and on that end, and on this side, and the noble swords coming in and trying to slaughter these light infantry quite heavily. These troops, the Shoto warriors, are getting heavily damaged, and everything else is just charging forward. The Kushite slave spearmen over here are moving in, and yeah, they're not doing that well. instantly against Oathsworn. They're not going to be that great. Kush has been completely collapsed already and retreating, full on retreat actually. For here, he's trying to commit some Shoto warriors, but at this point the lines are too weakened already. Masisli is getting a little bit more success. He does have much heavier infantry, but these desert cohort need to be used, sent that way. These noble swords will die eventually to the Numidian infantry and desert legionnaires that are engaging there. No, it seems the light infantry is not actually having a good time over there. Yeah, okay. The tribal slingers are getting slaughtered. Where's the general? General unit for Masisli. It seems armored Numidian riders managed to make their way into the Celtic slingers over there, but they got surrounded, and the Gatii are coming in heavy on that side. Desert cohort is coming in, and okay, Numidian light infantry are collapsing against the noble swords and the axis there, and now the archers coming in the back, the bow horsemen. They do get heavy shots, so they do quite a bit of damage, and they don't have that much range. Desert Legionnaires getting in a few pila into the bows over there. Cavalry running amok in the rear of the Shotel army here. The Kush armored Shotel already quite damaged on that end, and even on the side the damage is significant. Disciples of Epidamak now coming to charge in, but the Oathsworn, I believe, yeah, Oathsworn is retreating. It knows it's going to be a loss if it attacks there. They're just waiting for a better chance to charge the Disciples. Disciples are getting charged from the flanks. Pila thrown into the flank. The Shotel unit over there holding the general in place. And this Oathsworn unit over here getting sandwiched. What those Epidamak needs to charge into that. Alright, fair enough. They would have needed to charge into their bows coming back in, cycling after they got peeled and significantly damaged on this side. This one almost got murdered there, but as you can see, the battle is very much one-sided as the Siege Sucks team takes the first win. Essentially, there's no chance that the Moratori come back from this one at all. Yeah, nope. Sigmar is a better chance coming back from that. Oh wait, that's for Cal. I believe Masisli is Cal. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, that was a pretty decent first fight from Masisli. Kush didn't really do that well. Now it is actually surviving longer because, well, reasons that it has armored Shotel, and Shotel warriors are quite hard to kill. The Disciples are not really doing that well. They're fighting Oathsworn and Levy Freeman, and there is also some Spear Horsemen. They're not boding well. Over here, the armored Numidian riders and Kush slaves are fighting against the spears. Their army just completely collapsed, and the desert cohort here is just getting picked off by missiles. These Dacian heavy skirmishers and the Dacian bowmen are really good at taking down heavy armor. I believe the Dacian bowmen must have a hidden modifier against with armor piercing, as they do quite a significant amount of armor piercing. Yeah, there you go. They have 8 armor piercing, which is a ridiculous amount of armor piercing for a bow cavalry. It's even higher than the slingers. Noble swords over here holding their own against the desert cohort. You'd expect the desert cohort to win. Yeah, you'd expect the desert cohort to win, but possibly the amount of 3 units just overwhelming the desert cohort, as well as armor losses. You should be hitting any point now. Arveni barely damaged over here, lost very few units. The Disciples of Epidamak getting finally neutralized, and the last remaining few units of Kush are just being routed. The general is doing his one last charge, getting a few decent kills, 141 kills over there. Just charging in wherever it can, and getting those few kills, charging into those heavy skirmishers. Not the most ideal way, but at this point it was a last hurrah, if you will, and winning decisively. Did some damage there, but now the entire blob of Arveni coming in to finish in the fight. So game 1 goes to Siege Sucks, and I'm gonna load up game 2 very shortly. And let's look at the battle results of game 1 first, and then we'll go on from there. And battle. So game 1, Bobby getting 1,600 kills, and London getting 1,800 kills. very limited losses. Bobby did get quite a big, heavier damage done to him. Most of his units were very depleted, with the exception of this one X-Warriors. The rest of his army was pretty much done for. And London, on the other hand, is yeah, he still had 2 Oathsworn, pretty decent shape, chosen over there in decent shape, and some light units in the reserves as well. Slinger's not using that much ammunition. Overall, it took more damage than I expected him to do, but I think most of his units were still intact and not shattered. So Madrat was Kush. Okay, Madrat was Kush. He did get absolutely slaughtered. Cal, yeah, that is shameful display. His light infantry could have done more, but it needed a bit more micro, and light infantry getting charged by Celtic warriors is never a good idea, and his slinger is not doing well. I would have gone for a bit more cavalry instead of slingers, and maybe not having 2 disciples of Petermac, because one of them just did nothing. I would have gotten 2 Shotel armored Shotel and pushed in a triangle formation forward. With regards to Marshall, his cavalry didn't do that well at all. He suffered quite lots of losses there, and he committed his desert cohort way too late. He was winning the initial engagement with his light infantry and his desert legionnaires, but then when desert cohort only started engaging when the cavalry was engaged, and he ended up losing quite a bit there. Some of his units did horribly. These 2 doing really bad, this one and this one doing really bad. They could have done much better. I would have, again, maybe not gotten desert legionnaires, gotten more light infantry and gotten them chevrons, and they do ridiculously well against most infantry units, especially also cavalry. Yeah, so this is game 1, and let's jump to game 2. So here we are with game 2. Game 2, we have Galatia for Siege Sucks, and we have Nervia. I believe this is Bobby, this is London, and over on this side, I believe Cal is Ossidian Kingdom, and Arveni is good old Marshall. So now Celtic warriors in the front ranks with some Celtic slingers. I believe if they only got 1 Celtic slinger, there might be 2 bow units over there. Quite a wide formation that they're taking, possibly to try and deal with the fact that last time it went in a specific direction, the fight. Heavy Oathsworn presence on the battlefield over there. 6 Oathsworn units, no chosen swordsman, and quite a bit of Levy Freemen on the battlefield. So they went really light infantry on that regard. Thracian warriors on the flanks with some spears and mercenary flaxmen, and then a core of Thracian nobles over there, and some more spears and flaxmen on the flanks with Thracian warriors. So it seems they're going to try and smash through the center of this formation. Now the main issue with this, we can already see that they spread themselves into each other, and they're going to microing is going to be quite difficult, but we'll see how that goes. This has worked for them in the quarterfinals since the semifinals never happened. We'll see. So yeah, let's get straight into it. Noble horse, Capcodian cavalry, and we'll move forward. Straight on, London, I believe London, well, Nervia, let's call him Nervia, is moving forward over there, and Bobby is also, yeah, they're advancing really fast. Both sides are actually moving into it. Now, the main thing that this formation has, which I believe it can work, right? It definitely can work. It's just it is too thin for my liking. I would have liked at least have 2 Oathsworn unit in the center to act as anchor points around which the Thracian nobles would work, and these Celtic slingers are going to be different. Now, the counter to this is either make a bigger anvil than the spear and break the spear on the anvil, or do what the Galatians and the Nervii are doing, breaking the weakened flanks. Now those 3 Oathsworn units are completely out of position if they do break the flanks over here and over here, where the weakest points, these Thracian nobles will get picked off by the slingers over here and the cavalry charges as well. Quite a lot of slingers, quite a lot of infantry as well. Oathsworn Fierce Swords should do relatively well as well against the Thracian nobles in hand-to-hand combat. Now okay, there is just a charge. There is no craps given. Charge occurring. German Scout Riders coming in from the flanks. Nervia is pulling back, and there is a cavalry charge. This is really ballsy. Full-on scale cavalry charge, massacring those poor Celtics. The front line that was meant to hold just a slight bit of formation. Celtic slingers are just trying to suppress the fire over there, but these flaxmen and these nobles need to keep charging. They cannot stop because there's a cavalry charge. And if they honestly might pull this, oh, this unit is completely out of position now. That cav charge really slowed them down. The general is getting targeted over here, the Thracian noble general, and everything else is moving forward. Units are just charging ahead, doing whatever they can, but they need to keep charging. These nobles are just sitting still. They need to keep charging, because then, yeah, they're giving time for Galatia to reposition himself. They're focusing over here, these Thracian warriors, but that should be the least of their problems. The center is their strength, and the center would be able to wipe this out rather easily. These Thracian nobles just need to go there, to be honest. Because, yeah, just go like this. Meanwhile, on this flank, there are just minor engagements. The lines are just getting thinner and thinner, and we're going to see what happens. The Thracian warriors break out the first Galatian swords unit over there. The general is quite heavily depleted. I believe the general died. Yeah, general died recently. Flaxmen over there. Friendly fire possibly helped to kill the general over there from the Levy Freemen. And the Galatian legionnaires holding their own. But these Thracians are doing quite a bit of heavy damage. Let's see if they'll manage to break the formation quickly enough. Galatian legionnaires holding their ground there as long as possible, while these Syrian archers are pulling back. Oathsworn swinging in from the flanks and just charging into these blobs. Oathsworn against fierce swords and Levy Freeman should do relatively well, but there is some Oathsworn units over here and some more heavy and medium melee infantry. These Thracian warriors have not engaged. They need to go in now, as well as these Levy Freemen. They need to provide support to these nobles, give them long enough chance to be able to kill. Oh my god, this side completely collapsed. This side just crashed and burned entirely. What? How? We blinked and it went away. These legionnaires were suffering. These Thracian warriors are breaking en masse in huge numbers. Possibly the death of the general caused that to happen. The general over here is pulling back, the Thracian nobles are pulling back, trying to get to the noble horse, which has just slaughtered the slingers. And in the middle, they've managed to do some damage, but now the Thracian nobles are surrounded. And this was a really quick game. This was a ridiculously quick game. I honestly thought for a second they might have had it, but I believe they gave a little bit too much time for Galatia to reposition, and that little time allowed Galatia to just be able to bring it back really quickly. And do a counter attack. These Thracian warriors don't stand a chance. The skill level is quite the skill difference is quite obvious in this case. The land battle micro is showing, and microing and APM are very important things in most strategy games. You look at StarCraft, Age of the Empires, World of Warcraft, not World of Warcraft. In Rome, it's not so much usual, especially for Siege players who can play a really slow and meticulous game. But in land battle, there's nothing protecting you except your wits and skill, and this is a situation where that is indeed happening. Thracian nobles over there doing their thing. This is indeed an absolute massacre. Curb stomping, as one would say. Thracian nobles over there trying to charge in at these Oathsworn, but they're getting shot in the rear from these slingers. And these slingers are doing quite a bit of damage. They did snipe the general really quickly. I don't know. I don't know if this could have been won. The unit composition was good in theory, but realistically, no cavalry, no counter to these missiles, and the mobility provided by the Capcodian cavalry and noble horse over there, and nothing to really deal with the Oathsworn and fierce swords over on this side. These Oathsworn getting a few decent kills, but they're just dying. I think the Oathsworn needed to be on the center and the Levy Freeman on the flanks, rather the way that was played. And if the Oathsworn were in the center, they would have acted as the anchor, while the Thracian nobles ran around and did as they pleased, killing everything in place, and could have been pulled off. But Siege Sucks takes home the second game, and takes it rather easy. The Thracian nobles over here just giving up hope. And the last units are Levy Freeman, and the Oathsworn over here is fighting Galatian legionnaires, who did get a ridiculous amount of kills. Oathsworn unit over there not having fun, getting shot at to bits by Syrian archers, which I believe no, they don't even have heavy shot on precision shot. They could get an insane amount of damage if they do so. These Oathsworn over here are combat even, army losses are triggered. This Capicodian cavalry could charge and end it in a jiffy. These Oathsworn are gonna drop like flies, that their backs are facing the arrows, and their army losses is inflicted, and morale penalty is there, and they're gone. 63 kills on those Oathsworn. Yeah, Oathsworn are something you throw in the fight. Not the first thing, but very, very close to the first thing. You should keep always some in reserve, yes, but in this case it's just charge in and massacre. 6 units of Oathsworn was... It limited the amount of troops you get on the battlefield. Same with the Thracian nobles. Like, they're very expensive units. Saba would have been a very good choice against this army formation. They would have been able... Maybe Saba and Greek faction. So you get the heavy cataphracts, and then you get some hoplites to shield and hold the line. Some pikemen as well would have done relatively well against Galatia. Just force them to attack you in a specific manner. This Oathsworn general is holding on for dear life, but at this point it is broken, and it is GG. This is the second game of the tournament. Yeah, this one mattered not even breaking 1,000 kills. Marshall just getting 1,000 kills on his in his army. Bobby just massacring everything in his wake. These guys doing really heavy work. He did lose all of his Galatian swords, but that is to be expected because they were fighting really heavy duty troops over there. And with regards to London, if the game doesn't crash, in regards to London, he did very well overall. Just a few units getting damaged. Most of his army was still pretty much intact. Only 870 losses, 78 losses, so it's 880. With regards to Madrat's army just not pulling its weight. The Oathsworn not really doing what they were meant to do. As I said, Levi Freeman on the side just acting as a hindrance to the horses, and then the Oathsworn in the center would have done way more damage than this, and keeping them together along with the Celtic warriors, and then having the charge of the Thracian nobles in the rear. Thracian nobles ended up getting isolated and slaughtered. The spears not really doing anything, and the mercenary flaxmen again not really doing anything. General getting sniped. Alright, that is game 2. We're gonna jump into game 3, and we'll see who wins the tournament. So, this is the third battle. We have Siege Saxon on this side with Saba, mentioning Saba, they actually got Saba, and Lusitani versus Adrii and Boyai over here. Now, fortunately, I imagine they got Adrii to deal with Saba and Boyai to deal with the Lusitani, but they ended up in a switch formation, and they deployed quite far back both sides, and they're moving forward their troops once again, and they're sending some troops, Illyrian Marines, over onto that side. Let's just blast fast forward and wait for the battle lines to get together and see what happens in the game. So, are the battle lines sufficiently close together? Quite a lot of... Okay, let's look at the armies actually. Levi Freeman and sword followers with some Celtic warriors. Celtic warriors are being pulled aside because of the cavalry is not going to come from the front bodies. I mean, it can, but the flanks is more important. Illyrian Taurus Spears on the flanks and Illyrian Marines on this side. From the Adrii, Illyrian Noble Hoplites holding the center, and some more Illyrian Taurus Spears over there. More Marines leading the back lines. Whereas for Lusitani over here, Lusitani Swordswoman. Did I see Swordswoman? Yeah, Swordswoman. Have a little bit extra charge. Veteran Shield Warriors is Lusitani Nobles. Canterbury Cav. Sorry. Canterbury Cav, more Lusitani Nobles, Veteran Shields, and I believe Iberian Swords into the front. The Taurus are moving forward to start shooting. Desert Spearmen for Saba holding the front line. These are quite a cheap unit, 300 gold, but they do have ridiculous melee defense for their cost. Slingers are just starting to shoot at the Levi Freeman. And Muskrat Marauders spam on the back. That is Semi-Sword 6. And then on the back, this is where the money is, the Sapien Camel Cataphracts. We're going to see quite an interesting fight. I'm calling it based on the fact there are cataphracts, and the micro we've seen in the last 2 battles seem to have always gone in a specific direction. So over here, the swordsmen are charging into the Taurus Spears, and they're getting the engagement going. The Iberian Slingers over there fighting against the Slave Slingers. They're actually winning the fight as expected. The Iberian Swordsmen getting into the... Oh, that is brutal. Noble Hoplite is not really moving forward. Mercenary Axe-Warriors could have really charged in and done some damage over there, but they did not. So apart from the skirmishing happening here on the far left or right flank, well, on this far flank, there's not much happening. These two guys are coming in. Why are these? Oh, these Cerulean Tour Spears are retreating at a really bad moment over there. Cadaberian Cav coming in. They need to go into box formation. They're trying to. It's a bit late. Illyrian Marines coming in and some support from the Noble Hoplites over there. The Balearic Slingers are Iberian Slingers. Apologies. Well, Iberia and Balearic Slingers are quite similar. Iberian Slingers over there are going in. The Marauders and the Cavalry is moving into the center, preparing possibly to break through this side, which is very much possible. I mean, the Illyrian Marines are a pain in the arse to deal with, but otherwise than that, it should be fine. Noble Fighters over there going in. The Tour Spears already getting killed. Shield Warriors already in the rear of the AGI. The AGI is getting completely slaughtered over on this side. He is classed and outmatched simply by the presence of these units. And these units are indeed the units that counter AGI. I like the combination of Lusitani and Saba, because Lusitani and Saba kind of cover each other's weaknesses. Saba's cataphracts deal with most units, and Lusitani deal with armor and spears really easily. Camel cataphracts moving in. Mary of Camel cataphracts. I can't even begin to explain my adoration for this unit. It seems Boyai is once again taking a defensive position and not charging in. Boyais are a shock unit, shock army. Just charge in, melt the infantry of Saba. You can't take them on. There's no need to micro on this side. There's no need to send anything on this side, really and truly. Just let AGI take on the fight. And AGI should have just pulled back to here and just held the line entirely, but now the good old camels are doing their own thing. They're just running around massacring anything and everything they can get their hands on. Just look at this beauty. This entire unit just getting slaughtered. They're not gonna die from that charge, but they do a lot of damage. But this is unfortunate. This should have been a little bit more closer in the fights. Just use your army, man. Why aren't they using their army? This entire army is not being used. You could say the same for Sub. Sub is actually doing a lot of damage on this side with his cataphracts running around. He did get 100 kills and 40 kills over there, as well as sacrificing these Mascot Marauders, charging them in, and they're getting also a lot of kills. Yeah, it's a bit late now, but still could do a lot. AGI is essentially dead, and these units, Levy Freeman are... Levy Freeman... Yeah. They're moving back, so he stops. The Camel Cataphract will be able to deal with all these Levy Freemen very easily. The Swordswomen charging in, dealing damage there. Masquerade Marauders not holding up very well. The Illyrian Marines, again, box formation would be really useful when you're completely surrounded. Cataphracts getting into the rear of this and just providing a crap ton of support. These sort, yeah, Boya is getting completely pulled in, and Camel Cataphracts now coming in on this side against these sword followers. These sword followers will get Pila in, but Camel Cataphracts can easily take 2 or 3 volleys of Pila and not take that much damage. That charge should have done significant amount of damage. Okay, a few of these Camel Cataphracts are now falling because of the Illyrian Marines chucking Pila at them. Cataphracts coming on this side to support the Lusitani, who is taking some damage, but really and truly it is not that much. The Camel Cataphracts just slaughtering anything that moves out of the way too much and getting, you know, ridiculous volumes of kills, wasting a lot of peel of these Oathsworn sword followers. And I don't know how you feel about this. If you don't get missiles, even these guys, they're completely positioned. If you don't get missiles, I would just charge in, just not let him escape. Like, use the opportunity to flank that army and just let loose hell. troops moving in at all costs, and yeah, these cataphracts are just, yeah, it's too late for Boya to do anything now. There's nothing left holding their flank. One of their allies' army is completely gone. These Oathsworn are just running around in circles like headless chicken. Now the spears are just charging into the Levy Freeman, and you could see why. The Celtic Warriors and the Oathsworn Sword Followers, no, the Oathsworn are all committed over on that end. The Sword Followers are coming in from this flank, but that is going to be the end of this battle. Oathsworn charging in at the swords men over here, and these guys are going to get melted. They only have 15 armor and 60 melee defense, true, but against the Oathsworn they're not going to last long. The Oathsworn over here, Sword Followers are just getting slaughtered. More camels coming in, and there's an Oathsworn unit here which is going to get rear charged. Veteran Shield Warriors won't hold for long, but they will they will not kill these Nusatani nobles very easily, especially when they're being sandwiched. Camel Cataphracts coming into the rear of this. Levy Freeman losing. Okay, Musgrave Marauders charging in. Meanwhile, this entire force has just pulled back as the Sword Followers are moving into position. The Spears seems to have lost, but now Oathsworn coming in as against the Musgrave Marauders and Levy Freeman, and the remainder of the forces of Lusitania are coming in to smash into the flanks of the Boyai, as well as the Camel Cataphracts are just cleaning up anything and everything they can. Army losses are going to be inflicted before these guys can even fight. Saba is being really on point on just pulling its army back and making sure it has space to breathe, and just making sure that the Boyai are completely out of position as they are fighting. Their general over here is going to get killed. They should have honestly charged in, frenzied charge into the back of that Oathsworn, even though these slingers are going to do a really good job. This is something that should have been happening as soon as the combat over here started. As soon as that started, this should have happened. Not now. And also, this is why you need cavalry. When you fight these games, you do need at least 1 or 2 light cavalry, because you can just stop this retreat from happening. You can control where your allies or enemies go. Levy Freemen are breaking, Muscat Marauders coming in, the Taurus Spears are being pulled to this side. The Oathsworn are trying to find position. There's Oathsworn over here which is getting murdered. Yeah, getting completely slaughtered over on that hand. Sword Followers are pulling they're pulling these troops in a wild goose chase while there is an engagement happening over here. And on this end, the Musgrave Marauders are cleaning up the remainder of the Sword Followers and the Taurus Spears. They've switched positions essentially now. The Siege Sucks have switched positions with the Moratori. Finally, the Moratori getting in Sword Followers. 40 kills on 1 pila. This is actually really good. Their charge got stopped, so it gave that's annoying. Their charge stopped and these guys got an opportunity to keep running. They're gonna get really tired out really quickly. Their army is completely all over the place. Sword Followers coming in on this angle. Sabian Cataphracts are actually taking quite a bit of damage against these Illyrian Spears, which have 60 bonus versus large. When they have their ability triggering over there, they do really well against large unit sizes. And so cavalry and elephants, and they take them down relatively fast. Sword Followers coming in over on that side. The general seems to have been surrounded over here for Boyai, and is getting peeled in the back and surrounded by every single unit. It's not going to do very well, but he's going to still manage to get a few decent kills over there. Sword Followers getting flattened and then cycle charged by swordswomen and the likes. And finally Saba is turning around and starting to engage these Sword Followers, getting in the flanks full of what you call it, of slingers, retreating quite a bit over on that end. Not entirely sure. I mean, at this point, it's just getting. If these guys get in here, they would be able to clean that up, but it's a bit too late now. There is nothing that they can do to catch up to this army. And it's clear that their focus is elsewhere, trying to get the army back together somehow. The Oathsworn over there getting 200 kills, barely 200 kills, breaking 195 kills over there. And the Sword Followers over here are just getting flattened and slaughtered. troops over on this side are just running around in circles. The edge of the map is getting into formation, and yeah, this is GG. The general dying should cause army losses to activate also. General recently died. Okay, once those break, this will break as well. These guys didn't even get to engage. Army losses. These 2 units didn't even get to engage. Completely like waddled around. That is insane, and that is GG. GG to see Sucks for winning the tournament. That was absolutely, that was a show of force, like anything I've seen in a long time. So Bobby, his cataphracts just doing ridiculous amounts of damage. These guys doing, I mean, they were killing Oathsworn sword followers, so, and Illyrian noble hoplites, so they did really well. This one died to Illyrian Marines and Taurus Spears, but that is absolutely normal. Remember, this is on large unit size, so it does make a difference. With regards to London over here, Lusitania Nobles getting a lot of kills. Shield Veteran Warriors just absolutely destroying Marshall's Adrii play. Of course, Madrat, yeah, his Celtic Warriors, and he only got some kills on his Oathsworn, his general, and some of his sword followers getting a few kills, but realistically nothing really got kills. And Marshall's entire army was completely crushed, completely got out of position and attacked from his flank. He needed to fall back or wait as Madrat attacked forward. Anyway guys, this is it. Thanks for watching today. It was a bit long of a video, 3 battles in quick succession. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like. This tournament was sort of sponsored by CA. They are giving out the prize, which is a DLC of choice to the winning team. I'll be contacting the winning team and trying to sort that out very soon. And with regards to everything, I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, see you tomorrow, tonight, the day after. I don't know when you're seeing this, but I do hope you have a lovely day wherever you are, and take care out there. Bye bye.